All right. I think we can go ahead and get started. We have over 160 people on the line with us right now, and I think that's going to continue to grow. So that's amazing. So first, thank you all for being with us today and joining us. We have lined up for you what's going to be an amazing group of panelists, just incredible thought leaders and creators and experts in their space. So I could not be more excited to have them here. This event is part of our Black History Month programming at Forward PMX, part of our education pillar. And we couldn't be more excited to be having this conversation in this context, but it's also a topic and a conversation that we really should be having on a daily basis. Forgot to introduce myself, sorry about that. I'm Sarah Pollock. For those who don't know me, I'm the Global Director of Marketing for Forward PMX. And like I said, couldn't be more happy to have you all today. And again, important conversation topic to really be having every day. And it's something that we all in this industry have a role to play in addressing and solving. I would say that, I'll say it, a lot of us in this industry, we have a ways to go. There are people in this industry, who are responsible for the challenges that we face today, and it makes us equally responsible to work together to come up with the solutions. So really, really excited to be having this discussion. So this event is being recorded. Will absolutely be distributed to you all afterwards for you to catch on your own time. And then just really quickly before we get started, I did want to shout out some amazing team members on our side who have worked really hard to make this panel possible. So I just want to give a quick shout to Rachel Mishner, Emily Watt, Megan Levine, and the rest of the social team, Simone Jenkins, and Mariah Madera out of FPUS. So thank you all so much for helping make this amazing event happen. And lastly, if you have questions throughout the panel, we'll definitely reserve time at the end for some audience Q&A, but if you have something you want to ask, feel free to put it in the Q&A or the chat feature, and we'll get to them towards the end. So without further ado, we'll introduce you to our panelists today. So first we have with us Christina Gray. Hey, Christina.
Hello.
Christina is an actress, writer, and film producer, and she actually has a short film called Tricks that won an award last year, and it will be out very shortly. And Christina is joining us in Florida. She has also spent some time in New York modeling and also some time in LA. So thank you so much for being with us today, Christina.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Next, we have Troy Brooks, who's joining us from Westchester in New York. And Troy is a wellness entrepreneur, lifestyle content creator, social media and brand strategist, husband and father, who also has some very exciting news in his family today. So I appreciate you spending time with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Next, we have Ron Turner, who is also known as DJ Artistic. Ron is an internationally acclaimed DJ, working with tons of A-list celebrities and on the set of major TV shows. And Ron has been amazing over the pandemic. He's been doing weekly Twitch sets for his audience, which is just incredible. So thank you for joining us today, Ron.
Thank you. How's everybody going?
Awesome. And lastly, we have Jordan Rush, who is joining us out of Houston, which has been getting some unusual weather. Luckily for us, Jordan still has power and can join us, so that's fantastic. But Jordan is a lifestyle blogger, content creator. She has the most beautiful Instagram I've literally ever seen. You all need to check it out right after this event. So thanks, Jordan. Awesome to have you here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Sarah. Really stoked to be here and grateful to have power to be able to do this.
Awesome. All right. So let me get all of your beautiful faces on the screen. So I wanted to start out, obviously we have lots of people here who want to hear from you and hear your stories. So I was hoping to start with just a little bit of, how you got to the place you are in your career today. Your journey, possibly some of the barriers that you face, if you've been coming up in your careers. And I would also ask you to touch on, if there were times while you were coming up in your career that you were given opportunities that you felt didn't necessarily align with your values. You didn't feel like people were valuing you for what you brought to the table. If you could just dig into that a little bit. And I'd love to start with Christina, because you have such an empowering story in terms of how you've transitioned into kind of taking your career into your own hands, which has been absolutely amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, I started off many moons ago modeling, and I actually modeled in Miami starting as a teen model, and then I moved to New York, etc. And I graduated. I was a musical theater arts major, so I always had this like wanting to get into film, wanted to do Broadway. That was how it started. And when I started taking more classes in New York, I really wanted to do film. So LA just seemed to be the next transition for me. And I would write, and I started writing my own things and stuff like that. But I was always kind of, discouraged to kind of do my own thing. So I always had an agent. I was going to auditions every day, like every artist. And I just really wanted to start putting more stuff that stories that people wanted to hear, stories that were people who look like me, and I wanted to put that out. And so I kind of went through the whole gamut of like, I'm not a filmmaker, I have a modeling background, but I am a musical theater arts major. So I've been doing all these auditions and I'm writing. So, I would kind of ask around, and then it would come with, discouragement, like you shouldn't be doing this, you should be doing more of this. And taking all of that advice kind of held me back in a way, because I just was like, okay, well, I guess I'm not ready, or I don't have enough knowledge, I don't know enough people, maybe I shouldn't do that. And honestly, it was really one day I just kind of woke up and was just like, I don't care, I'm just going to put it out. That's really what it is. There's no real formula. It was just like, I got up one day and was just like, I'm going to do this because I'm not getting any younger. And I was so inspired to continue to keep writing and putting out these stories. I didn't know exactly how I was going to do it, but I kind of just was going to put myself out there. And lo and behold, when I started putting myself out there, I started getting more people who were interested in my same vision, as opposed to like waiting for somebody to give it to me. So I kind of put myself out there in order to receive it. And I struggled with, number one, putting myself out there because of what people were telling me. And especially sometimes with agents, agents will tell you certain things that you should do in order to get to a certain place. And I even had an agent that told me not to put out a short film, because if it's not in the biggest film festival, nobody's going to care about it. If I don't have a star in it, nobody's going to care about it. And that could have discouraged me. And I kind of started to rethink where my place would be to put out a film like that. So I dealt with a lot of people just kind of putting hurdles in front of me. And I just was like, I'm done with doing that. And I didn't want to settle. And I just took my career into my own hands. And, if one person was inspired by me, then I did my job. And if nobody was, at least I could say I put my stuff out there, and I'm not going to be the one that's like, what, I never did it. I was kind of scared because people told me that I shouldn't be doing it, so at least I can say that I took that step to put it out.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I know, we were talking about you kind of seeing a gap in the types of stories that were being told. And that, they'd really been one-dimensional in terms of how Black people are being portrayed in the stories that were being told.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Jordan, I wonder if you could talk a little bit about that, because you are fairly new in the content creation space, although wildly successful in your short time, after you transitioned from your career as a medical sales rep. So if you could talk a little bit about how you got to where you are.
Yeah, so I've always been really interested in this fashion space. I grew up working retail as my first jobs within high school and throughout college. I've always enjoyed it and always followed other fashion accounts that inspired me. But the thing that I struggled with were a lot of these accounts didn't have a lot of representation of people that looked like me. As not only a Black woman, I also have a different body type as well. I'm, under 5 foot and have an athletic build as well. And so it was hard for me to relate to a lot of companies that didn't have people that looked like me. And I think that was one of the frustrating pieces as well. So after consistently seeing it, I was like, well, the only way that we can continue to, I guess, make strides and for there to be space for more people that look like me in this industry, what if I started my own corner of the internet for myself and for people that do look like me that can relate to me as well. So I began creating, I began my blog, I began becoming more active on social media. And I know that the way I look and my style, it may be different than what most people are used to. I wanted it to be very true to myself, and what you see is what you get. And what I'm learning is that more people are wanting to see more representation in this space of people that do look differently, especially from, as a Black woman as well. A lot of times we're not as represented in that space. And so I feel like the more, whether I inspire someone to lean towards a certain style of fashion, or someone decides that they feel inspired to do something similar, it continues to itch into that industry that there's more people that look like us in this. That helps make it more relatable and more diverse while doing so as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for sharing. Troy, tell us about yourself. I know you got a lot going on.
Fitness entrepreneur. I've been in the fitness industry for over 12 years now. Part owner of a strength and conditioning gym in Manhattan, which is on hiatus right now. Before I got into the fitness industry, similar to Jordan, had a background in high-end retail, managed a bunch of stores from Rag & Bone to Billy Reed to Club Monaco. A bit of a background in, I was a celebrity personal assistant for a Grammy-nominated singer by the name of Maxwell for a couple of years. I got to travel and do some amazing things. I lost 100 pounds on that journey with him. And I think it was after reading the book, The Alchemist, it kind of changed my life. And I was like, this guy's got a great life. He's done everything. He's got the Grammys, he's got the life, but what am I doing? Like, am I actually doing what I'm supposed to do? Am I serving my purpose? Shortly after that, I moved to LA for a little bit, only lasted about 30 days. I was right back to New York. Love it now in my stage of maturation, but I was wild and party promoting back then. Got clubs closed earlier. It was just a different vibe. But it just shifted something in me and ignited and fired me to say that I'm a servant and I'm supposed to help people. And I got real fulfillment from helping people. So I got my education, I got certified, I started training people. Recently, I've won Best Instructor in New York City 2019. I've been featured in Pop Sugar, Men's Health, Top 5 Exercises You're Not Doing, you name it. My approach is super, super different. You guys were joking earlier when we took our break saying he's probably doing jumping jacks. No, I just found out the gender of my son and wanted to have a nice Casamigos or some kind of tequila on the rocks right now. That's what I wanted to do because my approach is just definitely a three-dimensional approach to nutrition, mindset, and movement, and association with food and positive behaviors. Outside of that, I'm a wellness and lifestyle content creator because all these different things that I embody and all these different elements of who I am, you kind of implement these things into your tool belt and they kind of set you up for who you are and who you're going to become. I didn't know that my PR background and my party promoting background and my background with fashion was going to also intertwine into who I am and how I correlate that to wellness and wellness culture, how we move, how we look, how we feel. And then representation on social media. I was like, if I'm going to be on the internet, I want to be putting my best foot forward. I feel to be very blessed to be in my position as a Black man. I went from fatherless to fatherhood. I love fathering my child, and I have another one on the way. That was the amazing thing that I wanted to tell you guys, and I just found out the gender today. But there's a lot of stereotypical norms out there that I want to smash, man. I'm a provoker of thought and action, and I want to continue to use my platform to break as many barriers that are associated with the negative connotations of Black men. We are thriving, we are intelligent, we are smart, we are kind. I just want to bring back that human element to what Black men look like. Thank you so much, Luke. And to what it looks like. We also live in, nice houses with fireplaces in the background. And I don't come from this, man. I come from the hood. I come from the bottom. But I've worked I can't say that. I've worked my tail off to put myself in a position to really take care of my family and step up,
Yeah. Yeah, amazing. Thanks for sharing, Troy.
Yeah.
Ron, tell us
Uh,
what's up.
yeah, so salute to all the other panelists. Troy, salute for that news today, of course. So yeah, so for me, I've been DJing for about 14 years now. It's a new year, so about 14 years. And initially, so I was majoring in computer science in college, and I had no plans of ever becoming a DJ. I was actually producing, so my main thing was just producing, making beats. It was an artist in LA called The Game, who's still out now. So I came from his camp back in the mid 2000s. So that was my focus. And I was just providing music for house parties. I wasn't planning to be a full-time DJ. I didn't talk on the mic or anything. It was just, let me put this Windows Media playlist up, Windows XP laptop with these Comp USA speakers, just as 2000s as it gets. And it went from there to where I am now. And each step, every few years, things change. So when I got back to LA, I was at FAMU, first of all. I went to a HBCU, FAMU in Tallahassee, Florida. And I got back to LA in 2008. And I was assuming because I had connections as a producer, I could just jump into LA and I would be a big club DJ. And that took much longer than I expected. So I realized every single lane was filled up at the time. It felt like the college lane was filled up. The Hollywood celebrity lane was already hard to attain, but that was filled up. Even just the bars and small lounges were tough. So I had to figure out what would be most beneficial for me. So the main thing I did was focused on just finding the audience that wasn't served as much. So me being an HBCU graduate, being an LA native, but being from an HBCU, the LA natives already had their DJs, their clubs, their crowds, but there was nothing serving the HBCU crowd in LA. So I started doing small events like, well, they started off small, doing a beach party, doing a lounge party, and it would go from 30 people the first time to 500 the next time. So I built my audience just from doing those types of things. And there were points where it was clashing. It was clashing with my actual day job after about 5 years, because doing full-time IT, I was at DirecTV for about 5 years, and it got to a point where it was hard to work until 9 p.m. and DJ from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. and back to work the next day. So I had to make that choice, and I quit my job the first time in 2014. And after 9 months of that, I realized, all right, I need a job again because DJing is not paying the bills enough. I have this mortgage, it's a little bit tough. So I went back to work, and after 3 years of working again, that's when DJing really took off. So it was a combination of everything. Just like Troy said, it was where everything that I had learned in the past came together. So everything from having a small digital media background, for making my own flyers, to having a tech background, to being president of the California Club and knowing how to bring people together and promote things, it all came together. So the more and more I worked at that, I was making the right connections. And then it was funny because I was trying so hard to be part of the Hollywood club scene that once Hollywood came to me, I didn't want to do it anymore. I realized that they weren't paying me enough. I realized that I didn't like being around those audiences. I didn't like the crowd that they were serving. I didn't like the audience and the whole goal of, it wasn't about people dancing or really having fun. It was more about the facade behind it. So from there, I said, let me just maximize what I have and keep on building my own community. So I've always just focused on bringing together the communities of Black people in LA, especially that don't want to be around the celebrities and around the whatever you want to call it, the fakeness, but do want to have a good time. So that's just the short summary of everything. I'm sure we'll get into more things later on, but that's just a quick summary of where I came from.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you all so much for sharing that. You're all so incredibly impressive, and seriously, so many props to you for the incredible work that's gone into your careers, and it's just amazing. And thank you for sharing that. It's very clear that you all found a niche to carve out, and really give that life, and it's amazing. I wanted to shift for a minute, to talk about last year with you all, and the Black Lives Matter movement. First, I'd love to, understand, number one, how you all were feeling during that time and during those moments. And if we could talk a little bit about, how you felt in your roles of influence, and also some of the responses from brands. We saw a lot of black squares posted on Instagram. But obviously, this is not the way for sustainable change. And I think there's, we can all agree there's a real difference in putting in the work and putting, your money where your mouth is versus just doing something for a show. So if I could start with you, maybe Jordan. I know, we were talking last week and that there was some very understandable frustrations, right, with the movement, that it was kind of the trending thing. But yeah, if I could hear from you how you were feeling and what your thoughts were.
Yeah, so prior to the rise in the Black Lives Matter movement this past June, I mean, as someone that's in the fashion space that doesn't see a lot of people that look like me, like we don't have a lot of Black women or even a lot of minorities in that space. I know I've always been someone that's been pretty vocal about, I'd love to work with you, but I don't see a lot of people that look like me that you work with. So it doesn't seem like I really belong in this space. And so when the rise of the Black Lives Matter movement happened in June, you're taking on both a personal aspect of it as well as a, public aspect of it as well. As a Black woman, it's hard seeing those moments being, publicized and it's national news when it's truly like a nightmare for us watching it happen. So there's the personal traumatic effect that happens to it, but from a public side of it as well, a lot of people look to you and see you as, as the voice or one of the voices for the Black Lives Matter movement. And so as honored as I am to have that, opportunity to speak up and to help educate, something that I was very vocal about too is that, I am one person. I do not speak on behalf of, the entire Black community, which is why it's important that you start diversifying what you're consuming and who you're consuming so you can understand that, Black lives aren't all into one solid bucket. We all look differently. We've experienced different things. Like we've had maybe some similar themes across the line, but you need to get comfortable with hearing different stories along these different creators and people that are in this community. But from a brand perspective as well, I found it to be very interesting. I guess it was kind of like a double-edged sword where I felt optimistic that a lot of brands were starting to realize, maybe we do have a problem or we're not diversifying enough. But then I also noticed brands saying that, they would post the Black square saying that they stand behind their Black community, but yet what has been representative of their brand has been the exact opposite. And now here we are 6-8 months later, and you can see the brands that are continuously trying to make work and make effort. You see the people that you're just kind of like, it was kind of like I thought, just posting what's trending, and justice and the livelihoods of your Black community isn't a trending topic. We're here to carve into our different spaces to show that we are just as qualified, if not we are more qualified, or bring something different to the table. And we don't want to just be the next trending topic. We want to show that representation matters because you need a different taste of something in that specific space when you are branching in different avenues.
Yeah, absolutely. Does anyone else want to weigh in there?
I just want to say that shout out to you, Jordan, and shout out to harnessing your power and understanding that what I really grasp from that is that you understand that our culture is currency and that we add a lot of value to anything and everything that we touch. My situation during when everything was going on was, I have a lot of different friends from a lot of different backgrounds, and we had certain people that we just didn't understand. Like I thought we were vibing, I thought we were on the same page until I started hearing comments like, well, look at them breaking things, why are they rioting, why do they think that's going to work? And it's like, you're not reading the room. Like you gotta look at everything else that transpired, that happened to get people to this outraged space, killing us, choking us, shooting us down like dogs in the street, putting your feet on our neck. It's frustrating to see these things. During the time when Ahmaud Arbery got killed, I was living upstate New York with my in-laws during COVID, living in a predominantly white neighborhood, very athletic man. I like to go out and run. Should I be scared for my life that I just can't go out for a jog? Fearful that I'm not going to make it back home to my wife and my son? It was nauseating to actually feel that feeling, to really actually have to understand that, hey, babe, listen, I'm going to go run this route, make sure Find My iPhone is on, make sure I get back home.
Yeah.
I didn't really want that. I was ready for this conversation to go this way, but I wanted to make sure that everybody on this phone call understands that this is an uncomfortable topic for many people, but it's a conversation that needs to be had.
Mm-hmm.
I feared for my life. The neighborhood that I live in right now in Westchester, one of the most affluent neighborhoods that you can live in New York, when I first moved to my block, I was scared to walk on the street that I live on past 5 p.m. because I was scared that my neighbors might say, who's this black man walking on a block? We don't know him. Cops get called, who knows where it goes. It's a completely different situation, another situation where I do not make it home to my family. So it's very frustrating for me. Was I gonna be out there rioting and looting and breaking stuff? No, I was gonna leave that to the youngers. I'm 39, I'm an OG to the youngins. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use my platform. Not only am I gonna use my platform, but I'm donating towards charitable causes because I'm in a position to do so. And I'm also in these boardrooms and having meetings like this with people that don't look like me to change the temperature in the room. And this was happening before COVID. Before COVID happened, I was in rooms in board meetings with people that look nothing like me, always the black guy in the room. We need more representation in the rooms.
Yeah.
We need more representation at the agencies. If you guys don't know who to hire, there's a consultant right here who can tell you how to read the room and how to not come off tone deaf.
Yeah.
You got to understand that our culture is currency. So when these brands approach us, they got to come correct. I just had to tell a brand, how dare you reach out to me on January 28th with no budget for BHM campaign? Are you crazy? Got to respect me as a man, got to respect me as a human, got to respect me as a small business. That's not how we do things. It came off very ingenuine. But shout out to all the brands that really have been stepping up. And because character and integrity matter, and integrity is not what you're doing when people are watching, shout out to the brands that have been showing up openly, willing to learn, digest, process, put their best foot forward, and amplify people, not just our voices, monetarily and many other ways, amplifying us and respecting us as small businesses and people.
Yeah, thank you for being so honest and open about that. Those are words that everybody really needs to hear. I just want to respond to the fact that while you were feeling all of that, that you were still, using your platform in a positive way for positive change. And I just, really applaud you for doing that. So thank you.
As Black people, man, love, I'm not in love. Love is in me.
Yeah.
No matter how people want to project or put things out, I have a choice of how I respond, how I react, and I'm intentional with everything that I do.
Yeah, thank you. I did want to respond to something else you had said, which I think is a good segue, that your culture is currency, which couldn't be more true. There's this juxtaposition of the incredible influence that Black culture has had on American culture in film, music, fashion, content, you name it. And yet there's still this incredible challenge and issue of representation. And all of those things, more often than not, it's not Black communities that are benefiting from all of that. It's non-people of color, and that's a problem. So I was wondering, Ron, if I could start with you this one. We were talking about some examples, and you had been alluding to them before, of your work in LA and the big clubs and who is really benefiting from that and what that environment looks like.
Sure, yeah. So everything that's been said so far is definitely spot on. And when it comes to music especially, it's probably the most prevalent example of where Black culture is kind of leached upon. And there will be Black stars on the surface, but even with them, the executives behind them and everyone who's really profiting is usually not the actual artist. And that's why so many artists from the past who sold millions still don't really have any true money. And when it comes to DJing, we definitely see that. So with DJing, when it comes to clubs, one thing Jordan mentioned about how a lot of different brands would post those black squares. Um, I've been wondering, so when clubs open back up in LA, will it be any actual change where certain clubs will actually hire black DJs and allow black people inside the club? Because the thing that was, I'll even say 10 years ago when there was the EDM era, it made a little bit more sense because most black crowds don't really care for EDM as much. And yeah, the crowd would be predominantly white, Mexican, Asian, white, Mexican, Asian DJ. But the last 5 years has really been all hip hop everywhere. And for one, it's different levels. One thing that's kind of funny to me is that whenever I get hired for an event that's a non-black crowd, I always go in just thinking, I don't want to be the black DJ only playing black music. I don't want to get stereotyped. So I'm playing pop music and this and that. Then the white crowd comes to me and says, stop playing this white stuff. Play some black music. Play Future. Play Migos. Play, it could be old school. It could be Michael Jackson. It could be Belle Biv DeVoe. It could be anything like that. So it's like, okay, so even the non-black crowds like hip hop. So then when I go to clubs that are mixed and that aren't that many black people there now, it will be a different color DJ who's playing all black music. It might be a bit of variation from what the all black clubs play, but for the most part, it's the same thing. And when it comes to getting in, I have so many friends in LA, especially black women who are not racially ambiguous. I'll be blunt about it. They might stand in line for hours at a time, while the ones who are not black can walk right in every single time. And you get inside and these non-blacks are dancing to everything that was created by black people. So when it comes to DJing, I remember 10 years ago, as I said, when there was EDM, people always told me, you have to be able to be a diverse DJ if you want to blow up. So learn how to play rock and roll, learn how to play house music, techno, whatever it is, play K-pop, whatever it is. So I learned all these different genres. Now I barely have to play it because even when I do a corporate event, I've done corporate events for French furniture companies where it was 10 black employees out of 2,000, and I was still playing more black music than anything else. So it's funny that, I'm happy for those companies that do hire me, but at the same time, it shows that we do have a very dominant culture, and it's not really appreciated as much as you would expect it to be. And I do wonder how it's going to be when clubs do open up in places like LA, New York, Chicago. Of course, Atlanta and Houston are open and it's different there. But when it comes to these big cities that, even Las Vegas, whenever I go to Las Vegas, they might make it where the black song is remixed with a pop beat just to make it more international friendly, but it's still overall black music. So I do wonder how things are going to change with that.
Look at St. John. Look at the Roses remix. Look at what it took for that to pop.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect example.
I agree with you 100%, brother. I remember my last trip to LA before COVID. We hit up Soho House and then we hit up Delilah's. I don't know if you're familiar with Delilah.
Delilah, yeah. Melrose.
Yeah. So we're hitting up Delilah, and we get inside, and again, hip hop music, white guys in Jordans, Yeezys,
Jordans,
hats. Yeah. You know what I mean? But then with such a lack of representation, and then like, again, people that I know from our circles, that when all the Black Lives Matter stuff started to happen, it was like no one was stepping up and being advocates for people. But it's like, I've seen you turn up. I've seen you love the culture so much. I need you to keep that same energy for the people. You can't just love the culture. You have to love the people who created the culture. And it was just such a frustration for me. So I've lost friends or people that I assumed to be friends through this entire thing, but you live and you learn and you grow. And you wish people peace and you hope that they open their eyes.
It's definitely happened. It's been promoters who I know, like one promoter who is white, but like you said, he has the black aesthetic. When it's the Jordans, it's the jeans, the backwards hat, but he's known for only letting white women and Asian women into the clubs. And if you are black, you have to have an ambiguous look. You have to have straight hair, that curly two-way texture. And he's known for doing that. But of course, he had the black square up when it came to Black Lives Matter. And people lit his comments up saying, like, so you're saying this now, but what about 2 months ago? So.
Or it's like they can walk in, but you got to get a bottle. So you got to get a table.
You got to get a bottle. You can't get in for $20. You have to pay for a bottle. So.
I wanted to quickly add to Troy and Ron, I noticed a lot where, people want the culture, but not the experience. And I battled with this with friends during the racial unrest. And I also cut a lot of people out of my life, people who I thought were friends and started posting some really like crazy things on their platform when everything was happening, because they felt somehow some personal attack to everything that was going on, as opposed to actually seeing what was happening. And I actually got into it like a little bit of an argument with someone who was talking about why are Black people so upset in terms of the culture and, wanting to dress how we dress and act, talk with the vernacular and the music and the dancing and all that stuff. And I said to him, I said, well, imagine your whole entire life things were stolen from you. Your entire life, no matter, number one, you don't know where you really come from. And then number two, when you try to create it, it's being taken from you at every single turn. And you have to create avenues for yourself so you can have a place in that space. And then somebody comes again and wants to capitalize off of that, And, when it comes to like music, I used to look at like some of the rappers, like people had spoken about what Eminem had rapped about, but there's a difference why the trajectory of his career went one way and other rappers did not. We know what that's about. Yeah. So with the conversation I had with a friend, I tried to explain that to him. And he was also one who loved to like have that, the culture and have it on, but then was like, oh my God, but they're looting, they're this, they're doing all of that. I don't talk to him anymore, but I had to put that in perspective. And then I think after that blow up, a week later, a mutual friend of ours, she showed me something he posted about his behavior and how he kind of had some breakthrough and realized all the stuff he was saying that was, not good. But yeah, it's a struggle with, trying to find your space and create and be creative, and then constantly having it ripped from you at every turn, and seeing how talented people of color are and the things that we do, and it's just like, and we've been doing, and then have it taken away because somebody else is doing it, or it looks different when somebody else does it.
Yeah,
totally relate to that too, Christina. As someone that like, I feel like I have a lot of different friends and different backgrounds as well. I think I had a lot of conversations with people that it felt like it was a battle, where they said that they were listening and they want to be a better ally, and then you would explain something and then they would come back and battle you about, well, what about X, Y, and Z, or the looting, or Black people can be just as successful. And I'm like, you're not truly listening then. You're trying to battle me to prove a point when I'm just trying to explain to you a different perspective. And I think that was one of the most difficult things, was people come to you for your perspective as a Black person who maybe not Black, but once you explain to it, they're trying to tell you that it's wrong or you should see it in a different way. And I'm like, so do you really want my perspective, or are you trying to, I guess like that term of cognitive dissonance, where you're trying to make yourself feel better about the way you thought or the way you viewed things in the world as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Christina. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Troy. Yeah.
I just, again, what Jordan was saying earlier, like some things have seemed very performative, and I've seen it on both ends of the coin, to be quite honest with you. Another thing that I wanted to bring awareness to, that some people might not understand during this time, is sometimes the Black community has a way. I don't know if any of you have ever felt this way, or maybe even projected this towards some way. Sometimes the Black community ourselves have a way where you can be so performative. You out there trying to make other Black people seem and feel like they're almost not Black enough because they're not out there doing certain things that other Black people are doing. I had a friend from Harlem tell me that you can't really relate to what's going on. You out here posting happy photos at your house. You don't know what's going on in the streets. You're not here in the streets. And I said, brother, you're in a community with people that look just like you. I'm on the front lines. I'm in a community where most people don't want me in this community. Most people are looking at me like, why do you live here? I went to get groceries and the woman asked me if I work for Instacart. The microaggressions that I deal with living outside of the hood, fearing for my life, I'm on the front lines in this thing. I'm out of the hood. but I feel almost more comfortable there because I know what time it is. But living here where the FedEx man sees me and says, hey, no, not even the FedEx man. So my next door neighbor, real quick story, my next door neighbor, Preston, package goes to my house instead of his house. I got on a fresh Lululemon sweatsuit, new Rolex, new sneakers. I'm chilling. I'm looking good. I'm doing what I do. I go over there real fast to drop it off. These guys are paving his lawn. They say to him, they say to me, oh, where's your truck? You know, can we help you? I said, no, this is a package. I'm just dropping it off. It's my neighbor's package. I swear to God. And the guy goes, oh, you can leave it with us. But you walked all the way. I said, man, I'm his neighbor, man. I live right there. I don't got on anything that says FedEx.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have, I got on fresh sneakers. Like this is my house. Do you see me? Do you even see me as a person?
Yeah.
Or is that the connotation that you just already have on my skin off the rip?
Right.
Little things like that. And this is a man that's working, they're paving. I could hire them. Hey, when you're done, pull up over here and I need you to work over here and pave my driveway. You know what I'm saying? But don't even see me as an equal just off of my skin.
Yeah.
These are the things that got to change. There's a lot, guys, that we don't have enough time to in this conversation, but maybe a 2.0 where we unpack tons of different things and tons of different experiences. Like Jordan said, the Black experience is this all evolving thing. It's not this one-dimensional, one-size-fits-all cookie-cut thing. It's a big thing. You take every color in the pot, you mix all those colors. What color does it make? I'm gonna leave that there for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Now, Christina, I wanted to ask you just really quickly. I know we're getting to quarter two, but you know, you've had a lot of experiences in your career in film. You know, when people were trying to put you into a box, and there were stereotypes involved. And you know, we were talking last week, and I won't name the brand, of course, but that, you know, you had been talking to a friend who worked at this brand who was asking you, you know, how else to portray Black individuals and Black people in the Black community through their products, and that they, you know, they couldn't understand how many stories you could tell, you know, how, like, it was just this very one-dimensional view, and that they were coming to you, and it was because they didn't have the right people in the room. And that was just, you know, astonishing to me that they could think, you know, so one-dimensionally.
Yeah, and I'm sure like Jordan could definitely, you know, she could relate to this in a lot of ways. But yeah, it was a situation, and we won't name the company, but a friend of mine did come to me and was asking questions of how can they be more relatable, and how can we make Black people see more, you know, representation. And I said, well, you have to consult people who are Black. You have to get them in the room. You know, what about your marketing team? They had no Black people on their marketing team at all. So they were just kind of bouncing ideas off of each other and constantly missing the mark. And I also put it out there that you have to understand that, you know, Black people are not just one thing. We're not just the sassy Black girl, which is a lot of the times when I was in acting rooms, you know, I went on big auditions like CBS, and I had one of the lead casting directors ask me, I did all these characters for her, and she asked me, what about that sassy Black woman, and she do this? And I'm just like, you know, that's not all we are. We're so many other things. We come from different places. We talk differently. We do, it's just, it's different. And what I was sharing with my friend, I said, you know, you can make a Black woman be a doctor. That's representation. A teacher, a president, a pharmacist. It's like, it doesn't have to always be about the pain of Black people, because we've got to this point where we are so many things. And I was telling her, and I won't say the company, it's like a doll company, but it's basically representations of dolls. And I have two little nieces, little brown skin nieces, and I would want to see, you know, I want them to see a Black woman as a doctor, a teacher, a scientist, you know, a superstar, or whatever it is. It's like, you know, an African princess, you know, just all different things that, you know, Black people could be. And I think, you know, for her and the people she was working with, for some reason that didn't like get to their head that, oh, we could also make, you know, Black people, they do so many things too nowadays. You know, it's just, it was still like not, they were not making the connection. And I kind of, you know, I just kind of let her know that we are so many different things, and don't be afraid to say like, let's make this doll. She's the CEO of a company. She's the president of this. She's that. We Black girls, Black people need to see that, you know. And I was talking, you know, with Troy when he even talked about him being a stay-at-home dad. That's a Black representation that we need to see as Black males. You know, Black males, you know, get a really bad rep. And I said, you know, that's something that Black males need to see, that you could also be a stay-at-home dad. You don't have to be this hyper toxic masculinity of like a Black male. You know, we don't have to have those kind of gender roles in a household. And I think for young Black males to see that would be super, super inspiring. You know, so representation is just, you know, so important. Very much. And just to finish off, like, as far as my career, like, you know, I would constantly get, you know, these roles that put me in a box. And that was one of the reasons why I started my production company, so I could tell my own stories that I know people wanted to hear, you know, because I know that there's a lot of girls who look like me who want to hear those stories. So that was one of the big reasons I started my company.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. So as we are getting closer to 3, I'm thinking maybe, you know, if you have any final thoughts before we get into the questions, you know, you've all provided such incredible perspective, but what do you want brands and marketers to know? Or, you know, what would you say to inspire, you know, creators who are trying to break out into these spaces and carving a niche for themselves and being out there and having a platform and telling their stories?
Yeah, I guess to kind of piggyback off of what Christina said, where she was talking to the marketing company, it really starts from the inside. And for a brand, it starts from the inside and it'll be projected outwards. If you hire more and you invest in more, you know, diverse resources and Black voices and Black minds to be a part of your organization, it'll reflect in the work that you produce, the way you market yourself, and it speaks for itself. Do we get it perfect every time? No. Are there ways that we all can grow? Absolutely. But I think I always just think like the inside, it will always be projected on what you show on the outside. And from the creator space as well, you know, there's still a lot of work and ways to go in diversifying that space. But if I were to go back and tell another creator that may be interested in joining that space, I would just say to go for it, because I feel like there's never, I oftentimes hear that this area is very saturated, but I feel like there's never enough, and we're all uniquely made and we're all different people, that your story is just as important. And the more that we hear and surround ourselves with a diverse creators, literature, entertainment, media, the more that we surround ourselves with it, the more we begin to appreciate it, and the more we begin to realize how much more we need to keep projecting it as well. So that's my little tidbit on that.
Shout out to that, Jordan. I'll tag on to that too. Like, this is a new space still. It is a green space, but it's still a business space. And I'd like to see more brands that stop throwing around the term partnership so loosely and understand that if we're doing a one-off thing with no real growth and way to amplify me and make a residual income or make this business a real partnership, then it's not a partnership, it's a transaction. And even in that time, even if we make it a long-term thing, that's just reoccurring transactions. But I'd like to see brands sharing their CPA targets. I'd like brands to discuss what kind of KPIs they're trying to optimize. I'd like to see brands showing that information to us on the back end so that we can see the metrics and the data, so that we can continue to amplify our worth when negotiating with other contracts and other brands. I'd like to see more long-term partnerships. If they're really going to be partnerships, let's stop the one-off campaigns and let's build out real, authentic relationships. I'd like to see more creatives having the knowledge, understanding the things that I'm talking about, and then let's simplify the contracts. The same thing that they're doing in the music industry, where a lot of these people are getting they're getting beat over the head with these crazy contracts because they don't have lawyers, they don't have people to read through all this crazy language. Let's start simplifying the contracts and making them more digestible so that the creatives can really understand the power that they have or the power that they lack in that contract so that they can make better decisions. I want to see brands really step up to the plate more.
Yeah, absolutely. Christina, Ron, any final thoughts?
When it comes to that, I would say whether it's about hiring, it could be about the entertainment side or just the marketing side. Like, for example, when it comes to DJing, I feel like, as I was saying before, it's hard to find DJs represented as much when it comes to not just clubs, but even when it comes to magazine advertisements or to commercials or to certain DJ. We have what's called DJ pools where DJs sign up for accounts and they get the music delivered every single month. And even when you see what they advertise, it's a lot of times it'll be DJs who might not be black at all. Sometimes it'll be one who's famous who everyone knows. It might be, say, it's Jazzy Jeff. They might have him because he's kind of the face of DJing, period. But beyond that, they don't really highlight as many black DJs. So I would say even outside of that world, it's just about following up and making sure that you keep your word, because as Troy just said, you see a lot of one-off type things, and they might feel that a one-off will be, they can use that as an excuse. Like, well, we did show someone black this one time, but 6 months later or 5 years later, that's the last time you saw somebody black. So the same thing with radio stations too. I realize that a lot of radio stations operate the same way. So to me, it's just about that consistency.
Yeah.
I guess what I want to leave with, especially for creatives, is to continue to create and to create your space. And you know, Nina Simone said it the best, you know, the job of an artist is to imitate the times of what's going on in the world. That's your job in any field as a Black creative, is to imitate what's happening in the world, however you can do it. And I think us having, you know, this panel is, you know, a big example of that. So what I would tell, you know, young creatives, Black creatives, is to keep creating those spaces, and, you know, just, you know, talk about the times, imitate the times, and keep it going.
Thank you. Thank you all. So we do have some questions from the audience. I know we have 5 or so minutes left, but I did want to get to a couple of those. So Rachel, do you want to field some of the questions? Hey.
Hi. Sure, absolutely. First of all, thank you all. This has been such a valuable panel. I know all of this wasn't necessarily easy to talk about, so thank you for speaking from your hearts. And we have a couple questions that we'd love to ask. So this first one, have you ever had an experience where you have had to turn down an opportunity because it conflicted with your integrity as a member of the Black community? Anyone wants to chime in?
Yeah, yes, yes. Just as a human being, to be quite honest with you, because again, I'm just trying to bring things back to humanizing Black people as people, not turning something down just because I'm Black, but also because I'm a human being. But I've turned down several different jobs because things just don't, I'm always guided by my moral compass. And like I said, character and integrity are very, very important things to me. And something that I learned back in the day is every dollar is not a good dollar. So for me, if something doesn't align with my values and I can't sleep at night or look at my son in the face or look at my wife in the face, I can't do it. And I don't say this in a braggadocious way, but my friends will tell you, my Instagram followers, people follow me, I just turned down a $30,000 job. A $30,000 job during a pandemic. Mm-hmm. Because I can foresee not just the pieces in front of me on the chessboard, but I can see the whole board. And I can see how that small success gain could affect me in a negative way in the long term. And I'm playing for legacy. I'm not here to play around. So yes.
So thank you for sharing that. I mean, I think it's like you want to make sure that you're staying true to yourself, right? I mean, who wouldn't? $30,000, that's a lot of money, but if it doesn't seem authentic, especially given the legacy you want to leave and your family, that can definitely make sense. So thank you, Troy. Did anyone else want to add? Anyone else want to add to that? Or I can go to the next question.
Yeah, just to touch briefly on that, I think when you asked that question, we all were sitting back, like shaking our heads, like we can agree to that, just because in my space, like, just like, I know oftentimes I do get PR companies and brands that look at my Instagram and, you know, I put off a certain representation. I do the same thing before I work with someone because it's supposed to be a partnership. And so if you're not marketing or you have people that look like me representing your product, I feel like you're playing the tokenism card where you want the token Black girl to say, like, at least we have this one Black person on our page showing this. And to me, that's not good enough. I need to see that you're marketing to all people, that I'm not just being used as a pawn to show that you are being diverse. And if I feel that in my spirit, I can't do it.
Spirit. Yeah, spirit.
Totally respect that.
Yeah.
Real briefly, I always turn down DJ gigs probably once every few weeks before pandemic if it just doesn't align with me. Even for me, the flyer alone means a lot. So there's been gigs where I accept the gig, but then if the flyer does not align with me, like for example, I don't like any flyer that's degrading the women. So if the flyer has my name, but the woman is dressed extremely, not that I care about how women are dressed in that way, but if it's not portraying them in the right light, or even when it's colorism, I've noticed some flyers it'll be a light-skinned woman who's dressed up elegantly, but the dark-skinned woman has on lingerie and is looking like a sex worker. And in that case, I don't agree with that. So, for sure.
Right.
No, again, that's yeah, I'm sure, and hopefully as time goes on, you know, there will be more opportunities that align. You know, that you feel are in line with what you're looking for, and genuine opportunities.
Yeah.
Sarah, did you want to ask one question or one more?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. We have a lot. We may have to get to some of them after, but what are the stories you're excited to share and environments you hope to see create in a socially conscious and diverse climate? Anybody can feel free to jump in.
Oh, you want me to say something? Okay. I am excited to show stories, or, you know, present stories of people of color, and more so the hero position, or the hero character, not the character that is in pain. I want to show love stories that are not about pain, but of like just true love with people of color, and show more of, like, you know, we go through the same things of life. I know we always have this generic story of like the strong Black woman, and that strong Black woman also has emotions, also has, you know, things that she's going through. It's not just about that. And I think there's a lot of relatable stories to be shared, and I'm very excited to bring those into creative spaces, because I'm pretty sure I speak for a lot of people who are in my field of entertainment that they're kind of tired of seeing the same type of story. And I had mentioned it before, like when we had stories like Black Panther, and even one of my friends who's of non-color, she actually didn't realize it was one of the first films that she saw that wasn't about slavery. Like she couldn't remember. Now we've had movies, you know, but like when I say mainstream, like, you know, how monumental Black Panther was, you know, she stopped and she was like, oh my goodness, actually it wasn't about that. We had a king, you know, we had a king. And I think that is so special, and we need to see a lot more of that and bring it into, you know, different spaces that people can see us in different lights. I personally, I don't want it should be normal, like natural, like water. I don't want to have another Black person like, oh, I didn't know that, you know, like I didn't know that Black people can do that, or there's a rich history and there's different cultures. We're all like not, one thing. I know we say that over and over, but those are the things that I'm excited to bring as far as my field is concerned, is to bring those type of stories, type of stories to life.
I'd like to tell more stories like that myself, man. I'm with you, Christina. I'd like to tell stories of being compassionate and being empathetic and being open and being vulnerable as a man and as a Black man, because looking into my baby's eyes, I've learned empathy and compassion in a way that I never knew existed. And I want to continue to model that behavior. And even in my marriage, I want more people to see that marriage is cool, man. And if it's not your thing, cool, it's not, but it's also still a beautiful, refreshing, enjoyable thing for those who choose to walk that path. I'd like to speak more about financial fitness, is what I like to call it, or financial literacy, and have those conversations around business and smart money management. I'm in the process of opening an LLC for my 2-year-old right now. Like, that's where I'm at with it. Like, his 5th year gift is going to be a very successful business that's already up and running. I'm making a lot of smart choices, and I'm starting to see the conversation within Black people where we're talking about investing, we're talking about stock options, we're talking about savings and all these different things. And that's the message that I use on my channel. Like, I did post this watch when I bought it, but guess what? I saved to the point where if you can't buy it twice, you can't afford it. That's the first thing we need to put out there with anything we buy, y'all. If you can't buy it twice, you can't afford it. We need to be smarter with our resources, our money, how we invest. And again, not just looking at the chess pieces in front of us, looking at the entire board. So those are the kind of conversations that I'm uber proud, and the kind of partnerships that I want. I want, those American Express and those kind of partnerships where we're talking about creating real generational wealth and the importance of credit and good credit and what that's going to do for your business, things that we weren't taught.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, we are at 5 after the hour, so I don't want to take up any more of your time. You guys have been amazing, absolutely amazing. I just really honor your time and your perspective and your incredible expertise in all your areas of focus. So Jordan, Christina, Troy, Ron, it's been amazing getting to know you, amazing having you on this panel. I'm sure everyone agrees. And Troy, again, congratulations on the exciting family news, the new baby. Christina, congratulations on the short film, which won an award, and it's coming out this week, right? More online, so more people.
Yeah, it's streamed a few times, but it's gonna stream again on the 21st on my channel. Okay. And I'll put out everything, and I'm still working on one other contract, getting it on another online platform that I can't say right now, but it's in the works.
Awesome. That's amazing. Amazing. All right. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you
all so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate you all.
Great day.
Have a good one.
Have a good
Bye, guys.